You've seen the big red painted K signs along the Green Monster at Fenway Park, but what exactly is the history behind the Boston K-Men?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Locked On Red Sox. I am your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate, and also the host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here Monday through Friday to bring you everything going on with the Boston Red Sox, all to your favorite podcast platform. And they're playing well right now, so that's a bonus. So you might as well continue to tune in because we are here every single day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Welcome to another episode of the show. The Red Sox are finally starting to what seems like figure things out and play well. And, you know, the vibes at Fenway seem to be high this year after some of the offseason moves that the Red Sox made. And I have somebody here who can definitely attest to that as he attends a ton of Red Sox games. You know him as one of the K-men. You see the big painted K signs plastered all over the Green Monster at Fenway Park. Kirk Carapezza, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Gabby. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for hopping on. Happy to have you here. And, you know, the K-Men have been this long-standing tradition that has gone on at Fenway Park for a long time. So can you just tell us a little bit about how that got started and the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, this is our 27th season. We started in 1998. We've posted thousands of K signs over the years. You know, some people would say a waste of time. Other people would say an incredible waste of time. But we love this tradition. It's very grassroots and organic. And that's how it started. It was an April night in 1998. Pedro Martinez had just come to the Boston Red Sox. And my best friend, Ryan McCarthy, and I were at that game. And I remember it was kind of a rainy, chilly night. And he struck out 10 guys. And we looked out in the bleachers and no one was keeping track of his strikeouts like some of the fans used to do for Roger Clemens. And we were, 16, 17 years old at the time. And we just got the buzz. I mean, back then, Fenway Park was only about halfway full. And most of the fans were Dominican or Dominican American fans who were there to root for their countrymen. And, I remember the hot dog vendor in our section in the right field grandstands, he'd put down his hot dogs and give up his income to root for Pedro, and he'd take the Dominican flag out of his back pocket, and he was waving it, and there was face paint and drums, and we just got swept up in that energy. And people forget, back then, Boston was a championship-starved city. Like, we wanted the Red Sox to win so badly. My dad thought they were cursed. My mom thought they were cursed. My grandparents thought, we never thought we would see this happen. So we just got swept up in this very kind of, superstitious tradition of posting the K signs at Fenway Park. We went home. And we took it upon ourselves to track Pedro's strikeouts. So we printed up 27 K cards just in case he struck out everybody and his right arm fell off.
You never know.
Yeah, I mean, he had to throw 200 pitches to strike out 27 guys. But we were very superstitious, and we still are. Like, we don't let the K signs face the field before the strikeout. And so we went back. We returned for a second start, and we never missed a Pedro Martinez start at Fenway from 98 to 2004. Back then, before the Red Sox won the championship in 2004, we would travel. We would go to Yankee Stadium, Baltimore. We'd go on the road and post. We were idiot, teenagers who thought it was a good idea to post K signs at Fenway Park, at Yankee Stadium. And so, yeah, it's just a fun tradition. People think we're part of the marketing department, but we're not. We pay for our tickets. We're completely independent. We want to be able to criticize the Red Sox just like you do, when they're not playing well. So we're not on the payroll. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the criticism has definitely been a lot over the last few years, that's for sure. But this year they seem to kind of be turning the tide a little bit on that. So hopefully, but that's pretty cool. I mean, obviously Pedro is a great pitcher to pick too, as he just so happens to be one of the best pitchers of all time.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. That's pretty fun. And, so how does this exactly work? Like, how do you get people involved? How did this grow?
Yeah, so it used to be just kind of like me and my group of friends, and then it expanded to be this thing where we would include people at the ballpark. So if you showed up in the bleachers, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was your birthday and you wanted to post a K sign, like, you could join us, and it became this kind of almost like a bucket list thing for people coming to Fenway Park to come join us and post a K. And we, back then, it was funny, the bleachers didn't sell out. So we would just show up, on the day of the game and ask for the last row of the bleachers, section 39, row 31. There was a huge wall behind us, and we'd post the K signs there. And then in 2002, the new owners came in, John Henry, Larry Lucchino, John Warner, and they hired Janet Marie Smith to redesign the ballpark. And part of the redesign, for aesthetic reasons, we're told, involved taking down the wall where we used to put up the K signs. So we showed up on opening day and our wall wasn't there. And so Ryan, one of the co-founders, went on live television on NESN. Tom Caron was actually the roving reporter at the time, and he came out and he interviewed us about the wall being missing. And Ryan criticized the new owners on live television. He said, hey, we're the biggest fans you guys have. No one asked us before you took down our wall. And so Larry Lucchino's team came running out the next inning and said, what do you guys want? And we said, we just want a place to put up our K signs. And so they had just built the Green Monster section. And there's a standing room area there. And we were like, yeah, that looks great. That's 200 yards closer. We might actually be able to hear the crack of the bat. We might be able to see whether it's a ball or a strike. And so there's this little platform in center field behind the center field flagpole where we post the signs on a fence there. And like I said, we pay for our tickets, but the Red Sox also donate tickets for charity, so that the base, this urban sports academy in Roxbury that we support, they can send their student athletes with us and they come and join. And then if you go to our website, bostonkmen.org, we sell T-shirts, Fenway Park T-shirts, hats, and all the money, 100% of the money goes to the base in Roxbury. It's an amazing organization. It's all about building community. They're a grassroots organization just like we are. And 100% of the donations go directly to the base because the Lions Group and the Bleacher Bar, which is on Lansdowne Street, just below the platform where we post, they sponsor our fundraising. And that covers the cost of printing and shipping our shirts. We have these awesome Fenway Park T-shirts that are designed by one of the K-men. I should have one here, but of course I don't. But yeah, if you go to the website, bostonkmen.org, grab a shirt, grab a backwards K hat, support the K-men, support the base. And if you have some extra money lying around and you can donate, $100, we'll enter you into a drawing to win Red Sox tickets and join us. If you have even more money, disposable income, and you want to donate $500, we'll give you the full K-men experience. We give you a couple Red Sox tickets, one of our original K signs, and a spot posting Ks on the Green Monster at Fenway.
Wow, what a cool experience that would be for any Red Sox fan. I know even for me, just from watching games and seeing that happen, I'm like, wow, this is such a cool thing that they do. And so many people know about the K-Men, and it's probably cool for you to just see how much it's grown ever since you started this.
Yeah, the best part about it for me is seeing the younger students do it, because especially the students from the base, a lot of the students are from Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan. They live 3 or 4 miles away from Fenway Park. Some of them are first generation or second generation immigrants. They've never been to the ballpark. Part of that is, the Red Sox priced out a lot of families as the tickets kept going up and up, right? And so that energy that we experienced in 1998, where you saw a lot of the Boston Dominican population, over time we actually kind of saw the gentrification of Fenway. And this fundraising and this partnership with the Red Sox and the base is great because it gets those families in. And the student athletes, they're the same age that I was when we started this crazy tradition, and they get the buzz and they see themselves on NESN or on the scoreboard. And so just seeing that again, it's reinvigorated the group. Also, I mean, let's be honest, like, we're kind of old to be doing this. I have a full-time job that I got to get back to soon. I have kids. I pulled my back a couple weeks ago. Like, I can't keep up with this tradition. Now they have Garrett Crochet, striking out 10 guys a game. I'm out of shape. Like, we can't keep up. So we need this new energy, this new fresh blood, just like our state and our economy and our country needs young talent, to succeed. Like, we're leaning on these kids from the base. And so it's a really great mutual relationship where they're supporting us and we're supporting them.
Yeah, that's great. I think, supporting the kids is so important and making a difference in their lives as well. And being able to get so many people of different ages involved too. I think that's so fun. And so how do these signs get made? Like, do you just bring 27 every time, or how does that work?
And I should say, a disclaimer, we call ourselves the Boston K-Men, but we're equal opportunity employers. There are K-women, there are K-children, and sometimes like the softball players from the base, when they come, it's great. Like that, the young women who come and join us, they're so enthusiastic, and it's great having them be part of this. And so what we do is every March, we go over to the base in Roxbury, and we bring out our old stencil. It's 27 years old. You need a tetanus shot to touch it because it's got, it's kind of rusty. And we use the same stencil, and we spray paint the K signs, and the student athletes help us make them every year. And that we make sure that we have 27 in the bag every year. And so we love telling people that when you see those K signs in the summer flying above the Green Monster, you can know that they were spray painted by a very talented group of young student athletes in Roxbury on what was a pretty cold day in March. So yeah, they're involved in the process from the very beginning of the season in spring training all the way through the summer and hopefully into the fall when the Red Sox are playing in the playoffs.
I'll get you right back to my interview with Kirk Carapezza from the Boston K-Men. But first, did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. If you already have a console, a Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take you or your kids' games wherever you plug in. So that's definitely a luxury to it. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. So gamers, pay attention because that is 100% for you. Also, I do appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It really is so cool to listen to it because they keep you up to date on every single game. So make sure that you check that out. To my understanding, so you pick one starter every year and you go to every start that pitcher makes.
Yeah, that's right. So it's funny, we get credit for going to all the games because people see the K's on NESN and they just assume that we're there every game. Yeah. But it's only one pitcher. Because to be honest, early on in 98, we were, young, ambitious teenagers, and we thought, oh, we'll go to every single game at Fenway and post Ks. And then one of my teachers noticed that my grades were slipping a little bit, and she turned to me and she said, Kirk, we can't put Ks on your report card. And that's when I realized we can only pick one pitcher. And so every year we pick the ace, who we think the ace is. We follow that pitcher. So it was Pedro to start, and then we kind of went through the dark ages where we posted for Dice K. And I don't know if you remember those games, but he took a lot of time in between pitches. This was before the pitch clock. And those were brutal. And then we always joke we're bipartisan, we posted for Kurt Schilling for one season. We posted for Josh Beckett, John Lester, Chris Sale. And then we posted for Brian Bayo last year until he got hurt. And that was, he's not really a strikeout pitcher. He's more of a ground ball pitcher. So we want a guy who's going to have a ton of Ks. And so Crochet, he's our type of guy, hard throwing lefty. He strikes out, 8, 9, 10 guys a game. And so, yeah, it's fun to have a flamethrower back on the mound.
Oh, yeah, I know. When the Red Sox acquired Crochet, I was like, yes, finally, this is a true number one starter. We haven't had this in a while. This is a guy who you can go out there and trust as your number one in that rotation. It feels great to have him here for sure. And he's definitely been delivering with what the Red Sox gave up for him. That's for sure. But what happens in that situation then? Like, say a pitcher that you're following does get hurt. Unfortunately, that's part of the sport is the injuries. And then what if they, come out and say that he's going to miss the rest of the season? Do you pivot to somebody else at that point?
Yeah, it's funny. Before, kind of in between the Pedro and the Crochet years when we were trying to find an ace, I think there was one year, 2015, we were posting for Clay Buchholz, and he got injured halfway through the season. And it was the same year that Pedro was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we went up there for the induction ceremony. And I think in August we just decided, let's pack it in. Like, we don't need to pick another pitcher. But now, because we're raising money for the base and the organization Roxbury, we like being there at all the games. And so last year, I think when Bayo got injured, we switched to another pitcher. I can't even remember who. We switched to not Clay Buchholz, Tanner Houck. Tanner Houck, yeah, for the rest of the year. There was one year we were posting for Nate Eovaldi, and for the first time there were no strikeouts, and he let up 5 home runs in an inning, which has never happened in the history of baseball. So yeah, we want the ace. It's good to have someone, in those 98, 99 seasons, Pedro's ERA was like minuscule. It was like 1.5. It was like a full point lower than a full run lower than the next person. And so seeing that, not just the number of strikeouts for Crochet, but that low ERA is really encouraging. The game has changed too. With all the sabermetrics and the pitch count, they kind of cap the guys at 100 now. When Pedro pitched, Joe Kerrigan, the Red Sox pitching coach, would have to rip the ball out of his hand at 120 pitches. And there's a great clip of Pedro in the Yankees at Yankee Stadium in the dugout, and he just didn't want to let the ball up. And now there's all this research that shows, the third time through the lineup, the guys are more likely to let up runs. And we understand that, but for the love of the game, we love seeing a guy, if he's throwing a one hitter or no hitter, like, let him finish, because that's what the fans want. So
yeah, I know. It was like with Crochet when he was pitching against the White Sox that day, and he had a no-hitter going into the 8th inning. And I was like, wow, if he keeps this up, I really would hate to see them pull him in the 9th. Like, even if his pitch count is high, like, right. I really would want to see him complete this no-hitter. And then, of course, obviously the no-hitter was given up at that point. But it is interesting how, starters don't pitch as deep into games now as they used to, and you just don't see them throwing that many pitches a starter.
Yeah. And we understand why, but I think, Major League Baseball is trying to figure out, how do they capture the next generation of fans? And I think most fans want to see history. They want to see a great game. And again, we understand the sabermetrics and the decisions, but there's so many things competing for our attention these days that in 1998, when we started this, I don't think I had an email account. There was no Facebook. Like, baseball was my outlet. This was my thing to do. And then going back to the tradition, like what makes it great, in my opinion, is it's still a very analog tradition in a digital age, right? We're on social media and we're promoting our fundraising on, X and, Facebook and LinkedIn or whatever, but it's still just a group of guys showing up to a game with these posters, and we keep score, in the book, and it's a very analog tradition. And in this day and age, like, it's fun. I think we need more of this, where we're unplugged and we're just in community, hanging out with each other, watching a game, keeping track of the strikeouts, having conversations, telling old stories about posting Ks at Yankee Stadium in 1999, like crazy things like that. But I think, I do think it's a tough needle for the Major League Baseball to thread, where this generation there's so many other sports to follow, and there's sports betting and social media, and it's hard to just carve out 3 to 4 hours and watch a game. But I think we need more and more of that, more of these traditions. It's a reason why it's called the national pastime.
Yeah, I do feel like, it helps make the games more interesting, because I know people who are like, baseball's so boring. Like, I can't sit and watch a game for that long, which I personally can't relate because it's my favorite sport. But right. I know people who are like, I just can't sit and watch like a 9-inning baseball game. And I think if you do things like you're doing, where you get people involved and it's giving them a reason to go to the ballpark and participate in something fun like that, naturally it's going to make people feel like, wow, I really enjoyed the atmosphere there. Like, I should watch more Red Sox games or like attend more Red Sox games. And I think it's going to draw people in. And I think what I really like about it is you getting the kids involved, because I think it's so important to start getting the younger generation to really start to love baseball, because, like, I feel like the younger generations, like, that's not necessarily their sport for a lot of people in those age brackets. And so I think the fact that you're resonating with the kids is so important here.
Right. And it's also beyond the, attention span and distraction issues that we just discussed. There's also a cost barrier, right? So for a lot of low-income students in the city, like baseball is an expensive sport, and that's where the base comes in, right? The base helps. They have you should go over there sometime and see the facilities in Roxbury. It's just amazing. It's an amazing sports facility. They provide a lot of the equipment. They work with the Red Sox Foundation, Franklin Sports sponsors a lot of the equipment. So it's a great way, because that cost barrier, baseball like hockey, around here in the Northeast, it's a really expensive sport for folks. And I always tell people, you can hate baseball or think it's boring, but if you come and stand with us on the Green Monster and post a K sign and you're on the scoreboard and you're on Nesson, like you don't have to love baseball to have a good time at the game. And we, to be honest, we're all old, and we spend half the time just telling old war stories to each other about, the Pedro era.
Hope you're enjoying my conversation with Kirk Carapezza from the Boston Cayman. Plenty more to come from that, but just want to tell you a little bit about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. It really is a lifesaver and a great way to manage your money, so make sure that you take advantage of that.
This is a fun K-Men fact. We were there in 1999, September 1999, when he struck out 17. And we weren't in the bleachers at the stadium. I mean, this is stupid. Like we showed up and we painted our faces red and we posted the K signs on the facade in left field. And when he got his 10th strikeout, a bunch of Yankee fans started throwing beers and sausages and hot dogs at us. And most of the stuff went over the banister and were landing on other Yankee fans below. But then a couple other guys came and they grabbed us and they threw us to the ground and they ripped the K signs off the facade. And then they ripped them in half and threw them up in the air. And you can imagine the stadium went nuts, right?
Yeah.
The Dominican fans in the bleachers saw what happened and they came running out to us the next inning and they surrounded us for the rest of the game. And we had exactly 17 K signs left in the bag because we brought 27 K signs to Yankee Stadium. And then he struck out 17 that night and we held them up. We went home, we printed up another batch, and then we took them to Staples and we got them double laminated. So now the K signs are double laminated. So if any Yankee fans come up and try to rip them in half,
that sounds like something a Yankees fan would do, though, to be honest.
That's
with
right.
You. And you bring 27
right,
every single time. Huh?
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, that's definitely the moral of the story here. And you bring 27 every time?
We do. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
When
you come up, you got to come to a game. You got to post a K sign.
I would like to. Yeah, I was actually at Crochet's start against Seattle, and I saw the K signs there, and I was like, oh, nice. Like they must have picked Garrett Crochet as their starter this year to kind of follow when in regards to the strikeouts.
Yep. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Come on up. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds great. I think it's just really cool what you do. And I think, getting a lot of different people involved is great. And I think the best way to kind of, draw more fans in is get them involved in doing things like this. And I think also the experience of being on the Green Monster, a lot of people, are like sitting on the Green Monster at a game is like a bucket list item for me. So I think that's another factor in this that like makes this a really cool thing.
That's right. Yeah. And that's like if you go to the website, bostonkmen.org, and you grab a shirt or a hat, we're going to have all the incentives are there. So, we appreciate any amount that people can give to the base. But if you are, if you do have the income and you can give a little bit more, we do have that full Cayman experience, which is a really cool thing. Cause it's a couple of Green Monster tickets. It's one of our original K signs that you can then hang in your office. And the cool thing about our K signs too is, again, it's organic, right? It's not like you go to some of the other ballparks and they have the marketing interns putting up the manufactured Ks, or they have digital Ks at some ballpark. Like these are, some of these are war torn. They have scars on them from from Yankee Stadium. So that's part of the package is you get one of our original Ks, couple of Red Sox tickets, and the opportunity to post Ks at Fenway.
Yeah, and that fame that people get from being shown
right.
on TV.
Yeah. We're like the Diet Coke of famous, but yes, the fame.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so obviously people can get involved by going to your website and donating and all of that, which is awesome. So what do you see in terms of the future for this? Like, where do you see this kind of going in the future now that they've extended Garrett Crochet? Do you think you're going to stick with him every year that he's here as kind of your go-to guy?
Yeah, I think so. We like developing kind of a routine and a relationship with an ace. Nothing will ever replace Pedro. I mean, he just brought this unbelievable energy to the ballpark. But the closest thing was probably Lester. Sale, when he was healthy, was a lot of fun. But we really like Crochet and his energy that he brings. I mean, we're at 27 years now, so we're almost at 30. My nephew is in his early 20s. So like eventually we'll hand it off to the next generation, and we'll just be the old guys who show up for the alumni game, in the playoffs, the Yankees games and the playoffs. But I was talking to someone, one of the folks at the base, and I was saying like, eventually like we'll get handed off to one of the student athletes, and they can bring the Ks. And they looked at me and they said, you'll never give this up. And I said, no, I probably won't.
Yeah, that'll be really hard for you because you've been doing it for so long.
It's so fun.
It'd be hard for you to be like, all right, I'm removed and you can take this over now. I don't think that'll ever fully happen.
It's like our bowling league. You know what I mean? Like it's an excuse for me and my friends to hang out every fifth game. You know what I mean? So I'm not in a bowling league yet. And so this is my excuse it forces us to hang out.
Yeah, no, which is great. And I think, the Fenway Park experience just makes it even better. But it's probably tough if like the Red Sox go on like a long road trip, because you're like, all right, like, I'm dying to be back at Fenway. And obviously, Crochet is going to pitch every fifth day. But if they go on like a long West Coast trip or something, it's like, yeah, we might go, a couple weeks without being at the ballpark and having people do this. And that's tough.
Yeah, if it's a long homestand, it can be like anywhere 2 to 3 starts in a month. But then sometimes there'll be a month where there's nothing. That's when my wife and kids are happy because I'm not at the ballpark. But but we bring them too. My 8 and 5-year-old have been and posted Ks with us. So the next generation's coming up. But yeah, it's the one tricky thing about this is like people want to know if they're coming to the game with us. Like, oh well, which game? And we usually don't know until 4 or 5 days before, and even then there could be a rain out and things get pushed. But for the most part, we can kind of track when he's going to pitch. So and the base is great. They're flexible, so they we let them know when we're going to be there, and then they say, yeah, we want to send a group to join you guys. And again, that's what's really kind of reinvigorating the group right now is seeing the young talent come up and join us. But it's a fun tradition. It's kind of just the serendipity of baseball. Like who knows, if we hadn't been at Pedro's first start, maybe this thing would have even started, so just kind of, it's very organic. We just kind of rode that wave, and it's so fun to see it continue and to be, someone said like the Ks are part of the tapestry of Fenway. I think that's probably a little overstated, but it's fun to just kind of be like part of the ballpark in this historic place. And I think the new owners, they took down our wall without asking us, but I think they've also recognized that Fenway Park is a destination, whether the Red Sox are winning or not, right? It's a tourist destination. Like people travel from all over the world just to see Fenway. And to be part of that and to be just part of that community, it's such a privilege and it's such an honor and it's humbling. And it's just it's something that, we joke, some of the K-men joke that no matter what we do, this will be the opening of our obituary.
Yeah, there needs to be like a K sign, like in the grave with you.
On my gravestone?
Because it's like part of your identity now, I feel like.
Yeah, bury me with the K signs, Gabby.
Yeah, I'm taking mental notes of that right now. But yeah, that's all fantastic. I think it's a great tradition that hopefully you can keep up. And what I find really cool is like the Nesson, cameras, no. So like every time there's a punch out from Garrett Crochet, they pan right to the signs. So everybody kind of is in sync with this. And I just think that's, really cool to see. And I think from your perspective, that's got to be cool of like everybody knows about it. And like you guys are just known as the K-Men among the fan base, among Nesson and the Red Sox media. Like that's just really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, and Nesson and the Red Sox have also been so generous with airtime. Like they come up and they interview us every year during some of the broadcasts, and we're able to talk about the base and point people to the website. And that's when we raise most of the money, because people are watching and they see the K's and they learn about our fundraising efforts, and then they go to the website, bostonkmen.org. I try to say the website as many times as I can when we're on the air, because that's the way people go. And then they see the great thing is our shirts and our hats have been shipped all over the world. Right, we've sent shirts to Australia, Germany, because Red Sox Nation is everywhere. Right, you know this. You're online. Like Red Sox fans are everywhere, and they're watching on the MLB app now, so they're watching the games. And what's great about this partnership is we're kind of like the grassroots marketing for the base. So people who've never been to Roxbury and don't know what the base is, they then get a shirt and the base logo is on the back, and so now they know about the base and the great work that's being done in our community.
That's so cool. I love that. I love this tradition. I think it's great. So everybody make sure you go on the website and get involved, and you can be involved with holding up a K at Fenway Park as well. But Kirk, it was an absolute pleasure having you on here. I really appreciate you hopping on and talking a little bit more about this tradition. I definitely am looking forward to being a part of it myself. So
you give me an honorary K woman. So you're always welcome, Gabby. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of your day. As always, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show, and I'll catch you next time.